Good morning, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished guests, and esteemed speakers. There is a famous quote by Oscar Wilde, and I'm sure many of you know it. It says, "When bankers get together for dinner, they discuss art, and when artists get together for dinner, they discuss money." It's this very quote that echoes the heart of a forum which hopes to be that bridge that nurtures the ecosystem by celebrating the business of creativity. And in many ways, it also reminds me of our guest of honor, Shri Sanjeev Sanyal ji, who's here with us today. Thank you for joining us. Someone who has effortlessly bridged the two worlds. We are deeply honored to have you with us, Sanjeev ji. Your presence truly embodies the very spirit of this forum, where creativity meets commerce. Our theme, Building Creative Bharat, reflects the very vision needed to bridge the gap by fostering meaningful dialogues to make India into a global creative powerhouse. We are so proud to share that speakers from diverse regions and more than 10 states of India have come together to shape the dialogue and collectively build Creative Bharat. We also extend a warm welcome to our international guests from the United Kingdoms and our gratitude to British Council, especially Ms. Alison Barrett, the country director, for their kind support and partnership. Thank you so much. Over the past year, our forum has evolved beyond being just an annual event. We have engaged with stakeholders through partnerships, including with the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting at Waves, and organized a roundtable building our Delhi as the creative capital with our Honorable Honorable Minister of Arts and Culture, Shri Kapil Mishra ji. Over the next 2 days, I look forward to learning from our creative champions like Harman Baweja, who took his creative enterprise to stock market, Ms. Avarna Jain, who continues to shape India's creative landscape with a group, and Mr. Sanjay Nigam, who has been empowering the fashion entrepreneurship. I hope each one of you finds equal inspiration, new partnership, and meaningful collaborations along the way. I extend my deepest gratitude to Dr. Sachchidanand Joshi ji, Member Secretary of IGNCA, for his valuable support, and to Professor Richa Kamboj, Head of Kala Darshana Division, for her constant encouragement. My heartfelt thanks to all the partners, stakeholders, and participants, and Professor Ravi Bhatnagar for supporting our forum and joining us here today. We conclude the forum with Creative Global Voice of India Awards, celebrating and honoring creative businesses. I look forward to all your valuable insights in making this forum a meaningful and impactful experience. I welcome you all to the Creative Economy Forum Season 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Supriya, for this inspiring welcome. I now welcome Shri Sanjeev Sanyal, Member Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, to please come on this stage, and I would request Supriya Suri ji to facilitate him. I think the applause should continue.
Friend Sachchidanand ji, Supriya ji, ladies and gentlemen, both on the dais and in the audience. Friends, the creative economy is, of course, something very dear to me, since although I live personally in the world of economics, I have a side life as a writer. These days, I'm also converting one of my books into an Amazon Prime series, so I have some dealings with the creative economy from time to time. Of course, typically when people think about the creative economy, they tend to think of this largely in terms of a silo. But in fact, creativity needs to pervade all aspects of the economy. I will make some exceptions in it. I don't want creative accounting, for example, but other than that, we need to have much greater creativity in every aspect of economic and social life. Take, for example, the way our cities look and our architecture. For some reason, even today, most of our cities seem to be stuck in socialist-era brutalism, and to the extent that we have crawled away from it, it is mostly by unquestioningly copying glass and chrome architecture of the 1990s and early 2000s. We have simply not been able to develop a Indian idiom for architecture of the 21st century. I'm not saying that everything has to go back and try and copy the Taj Mahal, but there has to be some degree of creativity that goes into a lot of our architecture. The same is true in many other fields of activity. Design, for example, industrial design. Something where we basically, industrial design in India means you buy a software from somewhere, from the rest of the world, and make some inputs, and that is passed off as creativity. So we really need to think about creativity and take it a lot more seriously than we have in the past. This requires a national effort. It requires effort from, obviously, the industry itself, but it requires it from academia, those institutions that teach design, teach filmmaking, teach various creative activities. But it also needs to be a wider effort socially, an exploration of our past and our history and our traditions, an exploration of futuristic design. Indian does not mean that we are stuck, whenever I use the term Indian knowledge systems, it brings up visions that somehow we must go back to the 4th century. That's not the case. There is obviously inspiration we can take from the 4th century, but we need to move forward. We are a living civilization. It means that we need to move forward, and some of it, of course, will come from outside, but a lot of it has got to be indigenously driven, new ideas. And so this is something that we need to bring out and stop thinking of the creative economy as a silo, but it's actually the entire economy needs to be creative. Now, in this context, let me say, this may happen anyway because of the massive technological changes that are about to take off. This already is happening, by the way, in all your mobile phones that you have right here. Artificial intelligence is going to have very radical implications for creativity. Almost anybody with access to a mobile phone will be able to do, in theory anyway, able to do creative things that would have been considered till very, very recently the monopoly of somebody who had taken years of training. So in many, many creative fields, you're going to have the situation which you had, say, 100 years ago in the movie industry, when you move from the silent era to the talkies. Those who do not make the transition will simply be wiped out. Now, this is not to be taken as necessarily a bad thing, because it does mean that India in one shot can move to the cutting edge, leapfrog in a sense. As you know, India never really managed to fix its fixed line telephony. We simply jumped to mobile. Something similar is likely to happen, if we put our heads to it, in the field of creative economy. Take, for example, movie making. We are probably watching right now, in fact, as I said, I'm myself participating in converting one of my books into an Amazon Prime series, and I'm very, very conscious that if another of my books is ever converted into a movie or TV series or whatever, it will not be done in the way I'm witnessing it. In some ways, I'm witnessing history, the end of a particular cycle. The sets being built, the way the actors are doing, all of this will not be done manually in this way ever again. Now, that doesn't mean that while those jobs are getting destroyed, new jobs will not get created, but those will be much more democratized. Those of you who are in this industry need to be at the cutting edge of this. Whether you like it or not, whatever you're doing today will look different. But it does mean that we could do for the creative economy what call centers did in the 90s and 2000s to corporate back offices. It could be possible, because you can do all the AI you want, but it will be possible very quickly for you to be able to create content for the world in a way it was simply not possible. You would not have known the nuances, you would not have known the instruments, the kind of imagery that would be needed for making, say, a music video for a Guatemalan audience. I have nothing against Guatemala, but I'm just taking a random example. But tomorrow, you could be sitting in a basement in Kohima and editing a music video from Guatemala. So this is something that has to be understood. Artificial intelligence is a tool. Do not be scared of it. Without human control, as many of you have probably already discovered, it hallucinates, it lies, it goes off into tangents. It needs to be continuously controlled by human intervention. Those who are afraid of it will treat it as a master. But in fact, it's an excellent servant. But that requires that you are not afraid of embracing it. And the combination of your creativity and this tool, and the ability now to sell this creativity into a global market, is something that will define the creative economy of India. I'm not saying we will necessarily succeed in doing this. It is an opportunity. This is, of course, not only directed to the younger members of this audience, but, of course, the younger members will be the biggest beneficiaries of this since they will presumably live longer. But this is here an opportunity where we could literally take our creative economy and convert it into the back office is the wrong word, but in a sense, what we did to the corporate back office, we may be able to do for the creative economy for the world. So think of it as a great opportunity. Of course, India itself is a great laboratory for the creative economy. The sheer variety, the sheer size of the population, the extraordinary diversity of our experiences, that itself provides huge amounts of inputs. And yes, we also have a massive domestic market where many of these experimentations can be done. So with that, let me stop and say that I'm glad that the Creative Economy Forum Season 3 is right here in Delhi, and hopefully many of the things I just mentioned will be discussed and internalized. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everyone. Respected dignitaries, a couple of friends and acquaintances that I've just met, and colleagues here. And of course, all of you back there who, like rightfully said by Sir, that, the future lies there. I just want to say that it's time for us to value creativity, not just something that it moves hearts, but to understand that creativity has power today. It has power to shape the way a country can think. a country can actually feel. I think we always look at creativity as rightly said by him, I think it was a silo. For me, it's always been one of a side gig. When someone's growing up, including myself, and if someone's really singing really well, and you ask that kid saying, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he says, I want to be a singer. And everyone in the room goes, yeah, okay, that's cute, but really, what do you want to do? But that cute today is an entire industry by itself. That cute today makes you a singer, a dancer, an influencer, a creator. So I feel as a country, we've kind of recognized that today we've reached that point where it's not cute anymore, and that can be something that we can drive. Because eventually what we do, what we creates not just, doesn't really just present us to the world, it kind of gives the world an idea of what we as a nation stand for. If you kind of, I'm sure you all must have in the recent past seen movies like RRR, right? And you had the greatest filmmakers, well, greatest would be a challenge, one of the greatest filmmakers, in the West going gaga over it. And it suddenly put India on the map in the West that, hey, it's not just about song and dance. I mean, RRR did have that. We've all probably tried to dance to Natu Natu, what is I have and failed miserably. It's too fast, man. But I think we've kind of exported that to the West. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure some of you here must have. I was watching a random reel of Shaq O'Neal, and he was suddenly going, he was actually singing that. And it was so amazing for me to see that here is a man, who plays basketball in America, which is pretty much on the other side of the globe, and he's singing a Punjabi song and putting it on Instagram, getting millions and millions of views. Now that just shows that what actually creativity can actually bring to the table. We as a country have exported a lot. We've been, I think, a lot of times the back-end office of a lot of IT companies, so to speak. It's important to kind of understand and build that shift from being just back-end to actually being front-end, right? Why can't our IPs be global IPs when we have it all, right? We've got great culture, we've got great literature, we've got great history. I think what we need is great synergy now, which happened. I mean, there was the Wave Summit in Mumbai, a few months back. We are here today. So I think, as a country, we're kind of waking up to the idea that collectively we can actually create this, and I don't want to use a word which kind of gets abused very often when it comes to creativity, is the word soft power. And interestingly, during my growing up years when I was studying in film school, in LA, and I was lucky. My dad egged me on, went there, and kind of understood how beautifully the West, and more importantly, the United States of America, has built the soft power. When we think of something happening to the planet today, we know America will come and save us, right? If the aliens are coming to attack, they will only attack Washington, D.C., because that's the only place on earth worthy of being an attack, right? And never understood it, but we imbibed it. Subconsciously, we took it into our system, and we put, and rightfully so, America is a great country. They've achieved a lot. So are we. We've been independent for less than 100 years now. I mean, 100 is also a really far-ass number. And, here we are today. And I think, I think we take pride when we hear a Hindi song in our car, and I'm sure there are a lot of young college boys here and girls, when you would do a gedi, as we call it, and, you would, back in my day, and don't laugh at me because I'm 44, well, I'll be 45 in a week, we'll stick to 44 for now. And, you would play Boombastic and drive around the college and you were the cool guy. Today you're like, yeah, theek hai, today you'd rather play AP Till No, and you'll be the cooler guy, right? Which really makes us kind of shift into understanding that we value our own self today. We value what we bring to the table, right? And I think that shift is real. As a company, we run a production house. It was a mom and pop shop. My mom and dad started it, so it was literally a mom and pop shop. Learned everything from them on dinner tables, on lunch table conversations, and a few whacks on film sets from the dad, and love from the mom, the quintessential, father-son. But it was fun. Learned a lot. But I think today as a company, we're we're kind of pushing the boundary. And, rightfully said by you, sir, about AI, I think there is no way to not embrace it, right? You've got to use it to empower yourself, empower storytelling in every way possible, much like the Industrial Revolution. It came about, people lost a lot of jobs because a lot of people were replaced by machines, but they found alternate careers, and it kind of built and propelled entrepreneurship. So I think creativity now needs to be looked at more from an entrepreneurial perspective. It's not just a side gig. It's something that you can genuinely build a business. We need to back IPs. We need to find creative funding, if I may, to kind of back what we are building and take it over. So yeah, as a company, we're pushing that ante. We made a film 10 years ago, I think, called Char Sahibzade, which was India's first animation film, which actually did phenomenally well, not just in India and globally. And recently we've had Narsimha, which has done now phenomenally well, not produced by us, but it's produced by the country. So I think, we're pushing the ante in different verticals. But yeah, I just feel like it's great to have this forum. Thank you, Supriya, for actually having me here. And, it's a very positive approach. I think we just need to look at creativity as a serious business and not a side gig anymore. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Supriya, for having me. India stands today at a fascinating inflection point where creativity, digital connectivity, and entrepreneurial ambition are all rising together. This moment is extraordinary because for the first time, these forces are aligning perfectly. And if we harness them well, they can become one of the most sustainable engines for India's economic growth. A simple fact, the creative economy today contributes 2.5% to India's GDP and 8% to employment. That's a big number. When we speak of the creative Bharat economy, we're not just talking about art or entertainment. We're talking about an entire ecosystem where stories, music, film, design, fashion, and media don't just shape culture, they drive GDP, they create jobs, and build global influence. India is on the brink of a major transformation, one where creativity itself will become an economic force. The idea of Creative Bharat is rooted in this vision, where art, culture, and storytelling evolve from intangible passions into structured, profitable, and scalable industries that power India's growth story. This shift from output-driven creativity to IP-driven creativity will define our country's future place in the global creative landscape. At the heart of this transformation lies Saregama, one of India's most iconic music labels. It has turned cultural heritage into a dynamic business model. By digitizing its vast archives and reviving timeless melodies through Carvaan and digital platforms, Saregama has shown that when preserved and reimagined, culture can stay relevant and valuable across generations. It proves that culture, when nurtured with imagination and business acumen, becomes both emotional heritage and an economic engine. But to truly unlock India's creative potential, we must move from a fragmented, project-based model to a structured, IP-centric one, where every creative output is seen not just as art, but as capital. Less than a year ago, Prime Minister Modi spoke of the same vision, the orange economy, a sector that uses creative and cultural ideas to showcase the Indian way of life to the world, while generating wealth and opportunity at home. This is the dawn of the orange economy in India, he said at the WAVE Summit in Mumbai. Create in India and create for the world. And that is exactly what we at Saregama and RPSG Lifestyle have set out to do. At RPSG Lifestyle Media, we've brought to India some of the world's most respected media brands, Esquire, The Hollywood Reporter, Rob Report. These titles carry the structure and polish of international media, but in our hands, they are Indian at heart. They celebrate Indian creativity, Indian excellence, and Indian ambition, while drawing from the best global practices. Our homegrown title, Manifest, is perhaps the truest reflection of this philosophy. It is built around India's deep cultural and wedding traditions, celebrating how our values continue to thrive in the modern world. It reminds us that our sanskars, our traditions, often carry wisdom that science is only just beginning to understand. India, in many ways, wrote the rules of living long before the world understood them, and it's time we show that to the world. Prime Minister Modi said it best. India's orange economy isn't just culture, it is capital. That one sentence reframes how we must all think about creativity. Culture is not just identity, it is value. It is wealth waiting to be unlocked. And just as the world today looks to India for technology and innovation, the coming decades will surely see India emerge as a creative powerhouse. Our film industries today already produce more movies than any other nation. Our music travels the world. Our food travels the world. Our fashion, our designs, our wellness philosophies are influencing global lifestyles. And as we continue to build strong IPs, nurture talent, and create original content, we won't just tell India's story to the world, we will help the world experience India. Let me leave you with one other fact. By 2030, the creative economy will influence consumer spends by over $1 trillion. So together, let us design and build the creative Bharat economy. One where creativity fuels prosperity, where culture becomes capital, and where India's imagination becomes its greatest export. Thank you.
Namaskar. Most respected Sanjeev Sanyal ji, Harman ji, Avarna ji, Sanjay ji, Ravi ji, and the host and organizer of this event, Supriya ji, my colleague, Professor Richa Kamboj, distinguished audience, and the young friends. It is indeed the pleasure of IGNCA to co-host this important event that is based on creative economy. And to get it inaugurated on 7th of November is more important. We may be knowing that today is an important day because the whole nation is celebrating 150 years of the song Vande Mataram. And what Vande Mataram defines to us, what Vande Mataram explains to us, which is very important, that any creativity embedded with patriotic zeal and social concern remains not only sustainable, but respected and regarded for generations. So that is the bottom line as far as the creativity is concerned. So we must remember that while we are celebrating 150 years of Vande Mataram. As far as the Creative Economy Forum is concerned, this entire process and event is very important and pertinent because the whole world is now thinking about the contribution of creative economy in the country's GDP. Few years back when we were discussing on this subject, we were comparing India's contribution of creative economy in the India's GDP, which was far less than the US or the UK's GDP. But by expanding our horizons, now we are almost on the verge of becoming closer to those countries. That is a very welcoming feature. But it is not going to sustain unless we all give it a serious thought and really chalk out an action plan for the creative economy industry. When we look at the creative economic industry, we must also understand and know that India has immense potential of expansion of creative economy because the kind of variety which we have, we always say, Anekata mein ekata, Hindi ki visheshta, the kind of diversity we have, the kind of rich cultural tapestry which we have, it does not have in any other country. I remember a couple of years back, I had been to some conference in Austria where I met a scholar who was working on textiles of Europe. And I had a chance to talk to her, and I appreciated her effort when she was presenting her paper. And she said that, sir, I feel very frustrated in front of you. In fact, it's a kind of an inferiority complex in talking about textile in front of an Indian, because the kind of variety which you only have in the northeastern region is much more than the whole of the Europe. So that's the feature of our country, that's the variety of our country which we have, and we must preserve that ethos. That is the most important thing, because in the name of economic growth, in the name of sustainability, in the name of development, we should not compromise on the artistic ethos and the cultural content of that. Sanjeev Sanyal ji very rightly said about the element of AI being introduced in creativity. Often on different platforms, I have been talking against the AI's intervention in the creative industry and the threat it is creating for the next generations. There is one tool known as Ghibli, if I correctly pronounce it Ghibli. Ghibli is, it creates anything, it can create any caricature. And suppose I am creating a painting of Ravi Verma in Ghibli. After 10 years, it will be very difficult to identify which is the original painting and which is the painting created by me on Ghibli. So that is the threat which is going to be there as far as the creativity is concerned. So we must also understand that the originality of creativity should be maintained. We should not, in the name of economic development, become exploitator for the real artisans and the artistry. That is another point. Because when we talk about the economic growth, when we talk about the progress of business, we talk about the development of business, often the person who gets neglected and gets exploited is the real artist and the artisans. IGNCA is making an effort, Ministry of Culture is making an effort of creating a prototype lab known as Atmanirbhar Bharat Center for Design, where we are trying to preserve the art forms in their original forms and trying to make them economically viable and sustainable with the help of modern days designers, young bright designers. That is an experiment which we are doing. I request all of you to find some time and visit that center and give your guidance and give your valuable inputs how we can improve on that. Now we are also looking for a bright market for that center. I'm very happy that Supriya ji is also honoring that center tomorrow perhaps. So that's a kind of an encouragement for all of us, the effort which we are putting in developing the economic industry. Of course, the Ministry of Culture is very seriously thinking about developing a whole vertical on creative economy, which is a very forthcoming step. In today's scenario, when we all talk about Gen Z concept, I don't know what will happen on Gen Alpha and Gen Beta, but at least today we can talk about Gen Z, and we can think the kind of creativity this generation has, if it is properly channelized, it is going to be the game changer, not only for the India, but for the entire globe. Because the kind of youth power we have is unique in the entire globe, and we have more than 60% of the youth power in India. So that is going to contribute a lot in development of the entire globe if that is channelized properly. For that, I must congratulate Supriya ji and her entire team for thinking about this forum and continuing with this forum for last couple of years, which is a very welcoming thing. I would also request her to take it to different institutions, universities particularly, and try to seed this thought in those institutions that this creative industry has an immense potential in our country, and students should always look for an alternative occupation or profession in the creative industry. Also, I see a couple of youngsters here, and that is an encouraging fact. I would also like to tell them everything which is on the screen is not the creative industry. There is much more which is behind the screen. So we must not always try to be in front of the screen. Also look for the opportunities which are available behind the screen. I'll give you a small example and wind up. IGNCA has one of the richest conservation labs in this country, and we have done tremendous projects. A couple of days back, if you might be following the newspapers, you might have seen at the Gurudwara Patna Sahab, we have kept the Jode Sahab, which was the shoes of Honorable Guru Gobind Singh Ji and his mother Sahib Kaur Ji. They are more than 350 years old, and the entire conservation was done by the IGNCA's conservation lab. Those conservators are not the heroes. They'll not find their photographs on the front page of newspapers, or they'll not find their video reels to be shot, but they are the real heroes. I would also like to tell you that the IGNCA has the credit of building world's biggest Nataraja in front of the Bharat Mandapam. That is the biggest and tallest Nataraja at the Bharat Mandapam. Thanks to Sanjeev Sanyal ji, who gave us the seed thought, and IGNCA acted upon it. Today, with proud, we can say that that Nataraja is totally handcrafted by our traditional Chola bronzes people. It is an Ashtadhatu Nataraja, 28 feet tall, and it has been made in record time of just 7 months. So all those important warriors who go on Mars or who won the World Cup take the limelight, but there are these warriors who work for the creative industry. They actually create something which remains for the generations. So we have to think about the generations and really boost this creative industry. Thank you very much.
Good morning all to all the creators and dreamers. We have the video. थैंक यू सुप्रिया जी, सान्याल जी। तो कुछ बात करने से पहले हम ये दिखाते हैं कि हमने किया क्या है, फिर बात करते हैं उसके ऊपर। I need to just turn your neck a bit. हाँ, सामने भी है। हाँ, आवाज़ नहीं आ रही है।
$30 crore का fashion entrepreneur fund. किसकी pitch बनाएगी उनकी company को rich? Let the pitch begin. Your timer starts now. 48 hours to prepare. This is a really tough one for us. You work in Nigam, but I don't work for you.
मेरे को drama नहीं चाहिए.
According to me, which was a big failure. तो customers कितने हुए आपके आज तक?
Then I need to see something जो मुझे वाकई मुझे चौंका दे।
मुझे प्रोडक्ट बहुत वीक लग रहा है। आप में पानी आ गया है। बहुत disappointed है। How much you asking for? My asking is 90 lakh rupees. Once you ask 10 crore, आपकी ask आपकी टक्कर से डबल है। बताइए हो ही गया है, ये चने मुर्मू रोटी का पैसे बांट रहे, कम लड़ाई होगी। कचरा मेरी सोना है, सोना 25 दिन में पैसा डबल। मेरे को दे दो, मैं इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ, मैं डबल करके देता हूँ। Let's talk business.
It's an emotional one.
चलिए अब बिजनेस और नंबर के बारे में बात करते हैं। सेल 5 लाख की है, वैल्यूएशन आप 2 करोड़ का दे रहे हो।
मुझे चाहिए मालूम।
हमारे नंबर से आप सहमत नहीं हैं? आप बता जाइए। आज आपको हमसे कैसे एक और मौका चाहिए, तो मैं रेडी हूँ। मेरे पास बक्सा भी रखिए। Bitch to get rich.
तो ये जो शो है ये स्ट्रेट बात करता है डिज़ाइन, फैशन और क्रिएटिविटी के बारे में। हम लोग का फैशन एंटरप्रेन्योर का स्ट्रेट आइडिया है टू बिल्ड, डेवलप एंड फ्यूल इंडियन क्रिएटिविटी, क्राफ्टमैनशिप एंड आर्ट। स्ट्रेट टू द ये आपने शो जो देखा है हम लोग 1 साल पहले शूट कर चुके हैं। अब आपको बताते हैं इसमें हमारे 14 फाउंडर्स हैं जिन पे हम लोगों ने कुछ 50-51 करोड़ रुपये इन्वेस्ट किए, और आज 1 साल के अंदर ये सारे ब्रांड 250 करोड़ रुपये का टर्नओवर कर रहे हैं। सो दिस नंबर वी अचीव्ड। इसके साथ हम लोगों ने अपना इंक्यूबेशन भी शुरू किया है, जिसमें हम लोग फैशन कॉलेजेस पे और बहुत सारे कारीगरों पे जाके उनको ग्रूम करते हैं और उनको हम सीड फंडिंग भी देते हैं ताकि वो डेवलप करें और आगे ले जाके हम उनको अगले शो बनाएं जहाँ पे लेके आएँ। So this is how we're building the creative economy in India, because for me, I believe creativity equal to capital, and we should work on it to develop our nation in this factor. And I don't know, आप लोगों से बहुत लोगों ने कभी सुना नहीं होगा कि बॉलीवुड में प्रोडक्शन हाउस का भी IPO होता है, जैसे हमारे हरमन भाई का. I mean, it's a great thing to having IPO in production. And अवर्णा जी, इतने फ्यूचरिस्टिक क्रिएटिविटी थॉट के साथ आपने जो मैगजीन्स, जो मीडिया हाउस चालू किया है, these are things we are Indian way doing to make our India very great creative capital. बट आपको एक बात और मेंशन करना चाहेंगे हम, इंडिया हमेशा से क्रिएटिविटी था, इंडियन आर्ट हमेशा वर्ल्ड में पहचानी गई और पसंद की गई. प्रॉब्लम सिर्फ ये थी कि हमारे आर्ट, क्राफ्ट और डिज़ाइन वेनिस से न्यूयॉर्क तक पहने जाते थे, बट लोग जो बनाते थे उनका कभी नाम नहीं होता था. तो नाउ वी हैव टेकन दैट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू मेक देम एज ए पॉपुलर एंड सक्सेसफुल वर्ल्ड वाइड. वन मोर फैक्ट, आप ऑस्कर, सब लोग जानते हैं ऑस्कर के बारे में, मूवीज़ नॉमिनेट होती है हमारी, और हम लोग बॉलीवुड को ज़्यादा फोकस करते हैं. फ्रॉम द मदर इंडिया टू होम बाउंड, ये सारी मूवीज़ हैं जो नॉमिनेट हुए हैं हमारे ऑस्कर में. इन सब में कॉमन एक ही चीज़ है, हमारी आर्ट. फ्रॉम द मदर इंडिया टू होम बाउंड, हमारा अपना डिज़ाइन, हमारी आर्ट, हमारी लैंग्वेज. वो अलग बात हम फोकस करते होंगे कि वो गरीबी दिखाते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है, हमारी आर्ट दिखाते हैं वो. इसको इस एंगल से अगर हम देखें तो देन वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इट इज़. So without taking so much time, because I only talk about business and capital, creativity is less to me, but we invest in creativity. What we need now, some new policies, some new more hands, so that in 5 years, we can make India a $1 trillion economy on fashion. जैसे अवर्णा जी ने बोला कि हमारा $1 trillion होने वाला है इकोनॉमी. फैशन फंड ये चाहता है कि सब अपने लेवल पे वो एटलीस्ट एक 10 बिलियन का पूल बनाए और 1 करोड़ जॉब लाए और अपने देश के फैशन को वर्ल्ड लेवल पर पहुँचाए. इट्स नॉट ओनली द फैशन, वी आर बिल्डिंग द IP ऑफ फैशन. थैंक यू एवरीवन.
And engage kids in a fun manner to teach them the importance of hand washing with soap.
This exercise is a wonderful initiative which can really instill the habit of hand washing in children while they have fun. अपने 10 गज के कूड़े को सेग्रीगेट करनी चाहिए, पेड़ पौधे लगाइए.
Now the Baweja Swachh India campaign has drawn up an action plan for each of these places.
From the Golden Temple to the Taj Mahal, Ajmer Sharif and Nakshi Temple to meet just a few.
नहीं थमेंगे अब उठा लिया है. अब बनेगा स्वस्थ इंडिया प्रोग्राम पाठ्यक्रम संस्कृत भाषा में भी पढ़ाया जा रहा है. हराएंगे, दोहराएंगे, मुश्किल बड़ी दोहराएंगे, हराएंगे.
अच्छी आदतों को अपनाएंगे, वैक्सीन लगवाएंगे, मिलके हराएंगे. जन इंडिया अपना हाथ उठाकर करेंगे से
मुश्किल
Message there everyone and all. He's saying that the hathon ko apne nizaam se dhona, shoot decoder. We're outside a first of its kind hygiene play park.
This place over here it offers more tactile experience.
पिछले 11 वर्षों हर साल बड़े का स्वस्थ इंडिया एक एनुअल पब्लिक हेल्थ कैंपेन को आगे बढ़ाकर स्वच्छता के जन आंदोलन को निरंतर शक्ति प्रदान करने का प्रयास किया गया है। इस प्रयास की मैं सराहना करती हूँ। मुझे ये जानकर विशेष प्रसन्नता हुई है कि आपको लोगों भाई और बच्चे इस अभियान के साथ जुड़े गए हैं। आज से शुरू की जा रही इस अभियान की 12वीं कड़ी स्वच्छता के राष्ट्रीय अभियान को और मजबूत बनाएगी।
Good morning, everyone. What brings me here is the love for the country. And sir, like you, I'm also an economist. Started my career with the bank for 10 years, with the World Bank. And I was a health sector lead for the, microeconomics and macroeconomics. I had a lot of opportunity to work in the public health spaces across the globe, ranging from Sierra Leone to, to Middle East, to Egypt, to most of the world except US. What brings me here is what I personally have seen is there's a lot what we can do creatively. And I have seen myself during my travel to India and the regions where I work. One of the most interesting bit is the art and culture and the culturally adaptive behavior change communication messaging. India made me learn a lot personally, where I went to Hon'ble in Nagaland. Infusion of so much culture, food, tradition, rice beers, and a lot of music. And what I learned is there is a very different way of dealing public health with the creative factors which are available. We chose sculpture as a thing, as a format, to make sure consent as a very important thing stays in the young mindsets. And when you go next to the Kisama village, the Hon'ble is coming in a few months now. So you're going to see the sculpture, what we built there. Second experiment we did was in Bareilly, which is also said like it's a mosquito hub. And a lot of WHO studies also talk about the same. We engaged the same artists who were there, who worked in the Bharat Mandapam. Now the work was over. They said, can we do something together? I said, definitely, to raise the public awareness, let's work on creating a mosquito sculpture there. Third thing what comes to my mind is I went to Jaipur, met a lot of puppeteers. And there's a whole puppeteers colony there. I said, what do you do now? They say, kabhi koi bulata hai performance ke liye, there is nothing. I said, I reached to around 900,000 schools in India through my programs. I go to around 30 million school kids. So why don't you perform for us? Some of them are Padam Shri, some of them are Padam Vibhushan, some of them are art national award winners. So it's very important, how you engage the people who really matter to you. And always it's so much fun to see how much kids enjoy. And every smile on the face of the kids makes you feel okay, we're in the right direction. Something very interesting, Modi ji actually talked about, toys and the toy association and creating indigenous toys. We work with Sesame Street across the globe. We asked them, like, okay, what do you do? How you do? They say, we are in Paris, in Disneyland. We are on the various channels and other places. So I argued and I discussed. I said, can we have the Indian Muppets? And we launched the first Indian Muppets called KK Kitanu and Neela Jadugar, first time India for India. We launched it on 2nd of October this year on the Mahatma Gandhi's anniversary, and we're very proud, like now we are going to take it global also in various formats. There's a lot of cross-learning which happens about the cultures, about the subcultures, about the norms, about the stratas. And most interesting bit is, like, in every part of India and every part of world, there is something what we can use it for the good, and we make sure world is a more beautiful place, a peaceful place. I always say creativity, non-creativity, business, non-business. The most important thing and the foundation is peace and the peace building in the country. Working in Sudan, I worked in Sudan, I worked in Afghanistan, all because of the public health work. I'm very happy, like my country is very peaceful. My country gives place. My country is talking about creative economy. My country is talking about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas. My country is talking about more women empowerment and breaking the ceilings. My country is talking about India for the world, not just by the virtue of the case studies, but experiencing real India. When I travel to the world, I also speak about the same, and many other people also, stand with me. And yes, there is a long way to go. I also have something which is very interesting, coming from public health and then coming from economics background. I never thought like Kumbh will teach me so much. In my decade of the career at Reckitt, I worked personally on Nasik Kumbh, worked on Haridwar Kumbh, Ardh Kumbh, now full Kumbh. You see how the artisans are, engaged, how the naviks are engaged, how the brands are coming, how the stories are traveling to the globe, and this is the only platform where, which has the highest and the biggest human congregation on the earth, which one can witness. Now people from the other countries come to me and they say, like, can you tell us, like, how India does the work, like how Reckitt does the work in Kumbh with Dettol and Harpic? Can we do something similar in Hajj? Can we do similar thing somewhere else? So it's again, like, it's a big opportunity. India is a very big learning platform. Art, culture, music, artisans. This is one aspect. Second is, it's also a very proud moment when you see India's tally on Cannes, on the Cannes Lions, on the globe. From 4 consecutive years, I have been winning Cannes for various campaigns. Definitely for my brands, ranging from Suraksha Ka Tika for Mortein as a brand, then Lucator for Harpic, and then Effie's Global for best of the best Effie's we have reached for the Dettol Banega Swasth India. So like that, this is also a very big encouragement when you see a lot of technology, interventions also. AI is getting used. Always there are questions on who owns it. Where is the IP? It's a very interesting and a very important subject because the future wars will be on the IPs and not just on content alone. Like many others who are writing the books and all, we're also trying to be a part of Hope, Motion for Hope for the season 2, which is going to come. Also, like, there is a very big campaign we are building on culture and consent with the Forbes, which we are going to announce in this in the next coming month. And we personally think there are 5 key pillars of success and mantra. One of them is consent, second is awareness, third is inclusion, fourth is awareness, and last but most important one is truth and self-belief. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak here. This is my second engagement with you in 3 years, and it's always good to see you and all these people who come here to listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you for those inspiring examples and the campaigns that you have been doing. We have been following your work very, very closely. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move towards a very special launch of Delhi as a creative and a healthy hub, an initiative by Reckitt India. Since 2015, Reckitt India has been advancing hygiene education across India through its flagship initiative, Dettol Banega Swasth India, reaching millions of children, teachers, and communities. The program promotes lifelong hygiene habits, health awareness, and overall well-being, complementing government efforts for a cleaner, healthier India. The DBSI launch in Delhi government schools embodies the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, empowering children with knowledge, habits, and awareness to build a cleaner, healthier, and more resilient India. May I now invite Professor Ravi Bhatnagar to unveil a very special launch of Dettol Banega Swasth India School Hygiene Program, Delhi, and present this to all the dignitaries present here.
This is the Indian Muppets in that.
Inside this?
These are called Dettol Sesame 3D kits.
Although they could do with some height.
Yes, all of you here? Smart?
Can we have it a set background?
Yeah, we need like a photo of the press.
How can we change background to see it?
Background to creative economy photo backdrop. Just one.